Beautiful pink and white cherry blossom season has already ended in Japan. Spring has begun already, and Japan is getting crowded and lively. This time, I'm gonna show you the most beautiful parks around Tokyo. Now, it's wisteria time. It's blooming with purple, pink, and white. And wisteria has long dropping flowers, which is a stunning sight when in full bloom. While I'm walking around the public parks, I want to talk about my life in Tokyo. If you don't like the overloaded city vibe, it will make you more calm with city parks in Tokyo. If you live in a village, that video will not satisfy you. Waking up to a crowded and lively city is probably an ordinary thing for most of us. So, where are you now? I've been living in Tokyo for more than 4 years, and I must say it has been one of the most incredible experiences of my life. Living in Tokyo is like living on a completely different planet, or rather, in a different century. And as a foreign woman, it was definitely an experience that also changed my personality. One of the biggest challenges I faced was learning Japanese. And that language is a trap look like attractive, but speaking and writing can be really daunting. And facing the daunting challenges has always been the most triggering to me impulse in my life. I experienced many things which damaged my feelings, and I had some turning points that made me a different person. I was broken and become fixed again. From my broken sides, many fresh roots come out again. I'm rebuilding my life from the beginning with that freshness over and over again. I don't turn that speech into a melancholic story. I'm just spreading some cheerful expressions which were accumulated in my mind. I thought it would be better to talk about my life in Tokyo without family or friends. Why did I move to Tokyo to be lonely? Yes, my loneliness that I choose with welcoming, and I will definitely brag about my loneliness and then try to think about the reasons behind it. What happened to me? I stepped out of my routine and left my life in Turkey that was filled with irregular and limitless stressful city life. If you ask me how I became lonely, I have to say how I was waiting for that my whole life actually. Even as a child, I was attracted to books and movies. I was quite willing to find a few friends, but I was not an outgoing child and far away from becoming an attractive person. I was practically a dreamer most of the time. More than I spent in school and around people, I was hiding to my room and by dreaming alone and finding a book. Most of the time, it was often out of reach for me having intimate relatives and soulmate friends. But finally, I realized that I spent too much time alone without complaining, and I have so fun by myself. And I didn't make an effort to reach out for a soulmate friendship. While starting my career and struggling with fierce competition, I've got many friends, but that was so exhausting. And also, I was punched by the big city issues. I'm from Istanbul, so we had extremely worse traffic jams, high expenses, and wild culture judgments. I was stressing out and anxiety for my future. Days were passing with an overwhelming weight that sometimes made me feel numb every day. I was talking to people, listening, responding, and constantly asking questions, but I was doing all of this with a deaf heart, to put it mildly. Do you also ever feel like this sometimes? Do you welcoming someone into your small world with hopefully an excitement, and then you let them go? because you realize that they are poisoning for you. After a while, you get used to it, and that is the worst thing in our century. Getting used to this routine scared me a lot. It punched me, to be more precise, and make me hide to changing something with me. With all of these pokes, I decided to get rid of these crumbs of a modern life. First, I would break up myself and then make me healed again. I wanted to change myself and never scared of doing that. This way would be to criticize myself and find an inspiration. I decided to move away from the area where I thought I had taken root and leave from where I was. I came to Tokyo. That was my dream actually. And everything has been changed completely. My fragility and perspective. I started learning Japanese and then found a job. It took 2 years to settle down in Japan. Although my work life here has become routine too. My personality, which has been healed and satisfied with my lonely life in Tokyo. I definitely feel safe in Tokyo. That is the most important point for me. And I can see my future clearly without any anxiety. My life in Japan gives me so much inspiration to make me impulsive and productive for reaching my dreams. In Tokyo, my mornings have different vibes which make me calm down, and nights are definitely enjoyable and make me feel independent. Sometimes in the middle of the night, an energy pokes out of me and says, "Let's go out and walk on the empty streets." I walk fearlessly and confidently. When I walk on streets, people pass by me and I look at them and think about my loneliness. Is this bad? Or is it weird? No. When I was living in my country, that feeling would make me more fragile. But here, that feeling makes me stronger than ever. Why? Because I choose that. It's my new life. So, how I started to change my life? Surely starting dreaming and planning every stage of my new future was such an unexpected challenge. Most of the time, it's so hard to find your purpose because you think about all the impossibilities and risks that come with it. If you get lost, you have to think about your first feelings. Tell yourself, first you have to find purpose, and that is so irregular way. Sometimes you can lose your motivation and passion while moving on the road, and then now you wouldn't even want to. I also felt like that. But then I knew that I should have a purpose that would keep me lively. Living alone makes me stronger and proactive, and getting easier deciding serious points for my life, and also managing my expenses, taking risks, deciding about my achieve which I want to get it. Making noise when I want to, being silent when I want to, all of these are at my own disposal. I'm not sure would I able to do it all if I weren't alone. That's why I never complain about my loneliness. Other things in our lives bother me more than being lonely. Being reckless, rough, and being fake is worse than loneliness for me. I wish we were taught to dream of being kind, thoughtful, or helpful when we grow up, but we are only dreaming of being rich, popular, and leaders. And the other problem is we are dragged into crowds that grow fiercely with the same expectations. Instead of strengthening our souls, we become a part of weakness and numb cells of the new digitizing society. We try to simplify our lives by rejecting every possibility that comes our way and by choosing the easy ones. At this point, I refuse to being like that. And I walk into a difficult, uneven and insecure area. This brought my loneliness. Yes, it's happened, but I will admit it without taking anything from others. It wouldn't be irrelevant to say how the routines in our lives and the insignificant moments that we thoughtlessly pass through have burdened us. The weirdness of the situation is related entirely to the culture and perceptions that the century in which we live has imposed on us. We are obliged to blend in with homogeneous groups of friends during our school years. It is deemed essential to live silently without being alienated in crowds. I was never popular in my school days, and I had very few friends, but it didn't make me sad anytime. My career was the same. Business life made me away from the people because of competition, anxiety, and the necessity of non-knife friendships in our work lives. Only a few people from my work life stayed in my life. Others, I just let them get out of my life. When I began to seek more the feeling of independent living without judgments, I gradually reduced the number of people in my life with my own choice. When I shared my vulnerability, I realized that people were not interested in my heart. Most of them just ignored me with harsh. And I knew there must be a lot of people out there like me. The problem was no one really listened to each other. People weren't willing to be patient and care about seeing other spirits. And then I eventually discovered I was not stuck to my sense of belonging, and I began dreaming of living in other parts of Earth. And not having friends doesn't matter as much as I thought I would anymore. I am so satisfied now to be in a place where I do have several people I call friends, including people at work in my personal life. As well as living far away from my hometown, we have really close relationship with my family. I always feel their mental support. I know that friendship is often placed on an extremely human needs, but it's not my goal that I need to meet in order to find my fulfillment. Belonging to somewhere and blending with my native society is not my satisfaction. Of course, I appreciate in a way that our connections with other people are very important to our sense of well-being, but it's not necessary to feel comfortable while struggling with modern still life. If you might realize that you enjoy spending time with yourself, there's lots of people that feel the way I feel. There are great differences between my life before and my new life. Their styles, benefits, and what I receive from them are very different, which brings the crisis of long-distance relationships along with it. Living apart from our loved ones is not difficult, nor is it mandatory. This had to be a period that I need to experience, and I'm living it. I will not let anyone else decide when I want to live and how I want to live. If I only come to this life once, it means I will allow all kinds of burdens to cling to the hem of my dress in order to live as I feel, not as imposed. When I feel what I need, I'm drawn towards it. And those times when I do this a bit selfishly, and I never regret that. I don't expect anyone to understand. While having this irregular journey, my only goal is to find a gentler, more selfless, calm, and delicate rhythm that I want to carry to all my future relationships. So, I don't want to be mindful of being alone anymore to find my most balanced self. And that shouldn't be weird. My family always supports me with their love. Family should be a safe cloth where you can leave yourself with trust. Even if my safe place is far away now, it still exists like a valuable jewel that I keep somewhere. I'm actually proud of my loneliness and I don't care about anymore. Afterwards, I feel the necessity of transitioning to a simple life that becomes increasingly simplified. Yes, a simple life. This is what I'm looking for. My small experiences that accumulate make up a large part of my life, and finding fragile goals in them makes me more connected to life. I never liked the sour feeling of giving up. I always was intractable. I think that achieving a simple life means breaking down the barriers that stick to our hearts and thoughts about how our simple decisions can affect other people's lives. And we can come up with a pure and thoughtful conscience and responsibility reflex. I think a simple life is an absolute necessity for all of us. We all need a minimal life, I believe. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video makes you better while taking your own way. See you next. Bye.